Hey, what's up? I'm Casey and this is CaseyReacts. Today I'm going to be going through Ask Reddit. If you ever have a burning question and need the opinions of millions of people online, well, Ask Reddit is the place for you. You can post your question and see what the masses think, or you can give your own insight into any of the various questions they have on there. Just remember, these are strangers on the internet. Depending on the topic, people might not be very informed, so take everything that's said here with a grain of salt. Make sure that you also don't take my word as fact. I always give my opinion on here, but that's all it is. Just an opinion. I can sound very informed, but I guarantee you, I'm not. It's just opinion. I'm just doing this to give some sort of a commentary on it. Alright, and with that, let's get right into it. How do you cope with all the terrible things going on in the world? Try to do things I find personally fulfilling. Otherwise, overthink it. Okay, so this one has me a little confused here. Is this person telling me that to deal with the things that are going terrible in the world, I need to try and do what they personally find fulfilling? Because they didn't really give any kind of instructions. I don't know what they find personally fulfilling. And otherwise overthink it, I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. Why would I want to overthink it? That's not going to help with anything. That's, if anything, it's going to make it even worse. So remember, do things that you find personally fulfilling unless this person gives a list on what they find fulfilling. You might as well try it if they give a list. Don't overthink it though, because that's horrible advice. That will make you more stressed out than ever. I work out a lot. I'm able to use exercise to burn off my anger and turn it into something good. It doesn't matter what you look like. What matters is how it makes you feel once you look back at what you were able to do. Think about it this way. Even if it's a small walk up and down your street, it's better than nothing. The fresh air is also a plus if you do it outside. Yeah, exercise helps a lot. Exercise helps with more problems though than just dealing with the terrible things in the world. It deals with your own personal issues too. Not saying that this is going to work for every single person, because it will not. But if you're depressed, try getting exercise. Try going to the gym, working out. It helps get a lot of that emotional energy out and does help you feel better. Depends on the person. Doesn't apply to everyone, but at the very least, that's my experience. Same thing with anger issues. I have anger issues, but you know what? I let it out at the gym. I have stresses about the state of the world. Let it out at the gym, it really helps. I'm not going to say it's a complete fix-all, but it does help to make it a little bit better. You can't change or influence most things. Try to be a good person while acknowledging, learning about, and appreciating the problems in the world. You're not obliged to get personally invested and drawn into all the bad events, whether that be abroad, nationally, and your personal life going on. It's perfectly fine to put yourself first, but have empathy for others. Letting go of it does help. Just kind of acknowledging, hey, I can't change things, but I can try to do my best anyway. It does help. I'm not saying that it's going to make you completely not stressed. You're probably still going to stress out, but acknowledging that there's nothing you can do to change things might help a little bit. At the very least, it keeps you grounded and out of that mindset of, I have to do something personally to deal with this. You can't do something for, let's say, a worldwide pandemic unless you are a specialist in that area. You can't do anything. Acknowledging it is going to help you to keep yourself from trying to do something drastic, if that is what your personality is like. Now, you can do your part. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated. But you have to acknowledge that you can't control what's happening. You can just go with it. Reddit. What's the weirdest, most messed up thing you have ever seen? Cut my leg open with a full-sized axe a couple of days after it was sharpened. Hit just above where my ankle is and went in between my tendons. Got to see all my tendons and my bones. Got to the hospital. They cleaned it out. Then they tugged on all my tendons to check if the toes were working. Kinda cool, but pretty messed up. Yeah, no, that would be very traumatic. I can't imagine cutting my leg open and just being like, oh look, there's my bones and there's my tendons. That's totally cool. I'm not gonna totally wake up and have nightmares about this for the rest of the year. I was waiting for my connecting train home and had time for a quick smoke. A homeless woman came up to me asking for change. I had none but offered her a smoke. She told me she had nowhere to go, and I suggested a few council-run places she could go. She told me she wasn't welcome anymore and the people would beat her again if she went. Confused, I asked what happened. She pulled off her hat to show a fist-sized crater at the crown of her head. I swear I saw a part of her actual skull. I still remember the smell, the color of the pus. I apologized and ran back into the station to then throw up. Wow, that's awful. That's just horrible. That's incredibly depressing. She's homeless and can't even go to a homeless shelter because they beat her that badly too? They beat her so badly that her skull is exposed? And why can't she go to the hospital? I mean, surely that she could give a fake name or something and just say she doesn't have an ID or anything like that. I mean, it's not the most ethical way to do it, but at the very least, you can get treated and just hope you slip through the cracks and don't end up in debt. But that's something that's life-threatening. That's depressing. It's horrifying to think of the things that the homeless people of this country go through on a daily basis. I saw a guy cut off a piece of his arm and eat it. Well, that's just... would he lose weight? Would he lose weight or would he gain weight? Or would his weight stay the exact same? I need to know this. If you start eating pieces of your body, is your weight just going to stay the same? Are you going to start losing weight? Or are you just going to be in terrible agony for the rest of your life as you have horrible, horrible wounds where you're trying to eat? I think it's probably the agony for the rest of your life thing. You're going to have horrible wounds for a long time. Was in Africa when a beggar limps by. He had some gnarly infection on his foot. Massively swollen, skin peeled back. You could see the bone poking through here and there. Wow, that's so just horrible. I'm shocked at what some people can live through. I don't think that I could handle seeing that, handle whatever that is happening with me, and not just kind of give up if I have no access to healthcare to get that fixed. That's just awful. But then I'm not sure what the state of healthcare is like in Africa. Chances are it's probably not as good as some first world countries. Unfortunately, it's probably about as good as America's. Ayo! What is perfectly legal, but creepy as hell? Looking at someone while they're peeing in a public restroom. Ugh, I can't do... I'm a very nervous peer. I cannot pee if there's someone standing right next to me. Doesn't matter if they're minding their own business. If they're right next to me, I can't do it. So the thought of someone staring at me while I'm doing it, that's just a nightmare, and I would never, ever be able to pee again. Asking random people on the street to hold your hand while crossing the road as an adult. Yeah, that'd be weird. That'd be really creepy and weird. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do this just for like videos on YouTube and TikTok, but that's still really weird. It's about as weird as going up to someone and saying, "Hey, can I stroke your beard?" Just don't do it. It's weird. It's going to make people very uncomfortable. Standing in an elevator, facing away from the doors. That one's actually really funny. That's not creepy. It's a little unsettling, but I wouldn't call it creepy. It's more confusing than anything. You wait in an elevator, face the wrong way, wait for someone to come in. They're going to be really confused. Sometimes they might face the same way as you, and then they'll realize, oh, this person's just being weird. You never know, but it's always fun to mess with people that way. Nobody gets hurt. What's the worst double standard? Employers expecting loyalty from employees while provided none in return. Sorry, buddy. Loyalty is a two-way street. If you can terminate my employment at a moment's notice, then I reserve the right to leave when I want to. Yeah, I can't express this enough, but don't ever be loyal to a company. They are not loyal to you, and they will never be loyal to you. Unless you are the owner of that company, there is no loyalty. Even if you're the owner of that company, eventually, your board of directors will have no loyalty to you anyway, depending on how big it gets. A company has no reason to think lowly of you if you quit on the spot without a 2 weeks notice, if they are able to fire you without having to give you at least a 2 weeks notice. I know that is typically how it works, but it's still a terrible thing. Just always remember, put your home and family life before your work. They're the ones that care about you. Work doesn't. If you were to die, they would have a help wanted sign up within a day of your death. They don't care. Yeah, some of the coworkers might miss you, but all in all, your death will have absolutely no impact on that company, and they'll continue just business as usual. Your family won't. Be loyal to those you love, not your employment. My boss has brought me into his office to repeatedly tell me that I don't do enough work and that we're all swamped right now. My department's short-staffed, yet he has no issues sitting at his desk watching movies all day long. Yet if I sit for 5 minutes to shoot off an email, I'm wasting my time. Yeah, double standards and work go hand in hand. I don't think there's any double standard in this that I was able to find that was not a double standard based on employers versus employees. An actual good manager will follow the same standards that you're expected to follow. Unfortunately, there are a lot of managers that are not good managers. That my employer expects me to flawlessly come into work every day with no excuses allowed, yet our paychecks being late are met with rationalizations and excuses from the payroll department. You see, now this is one that you can't actually fight. You can tell them, hey, if you don't get my paycheck in on time, I'm going to the Better Business Bureau or going to the Department of Labor. They have to get your checks into you within 2 weeks of your due date. If they're that late, you can file a complaint against them and they'll have to pay that out. Granted, they're not going to like you. However, they also won't legally be able to fire you because it will definitely be seen as retaliation. And if they do that, you can sue the crap out of them, get a lot of money, and boom, you might never have to work another day in your life, just because of a screw up on their end. What's the stupidest movie line you've ever heard? Being in love means never having to say you're sorry. Girl, what kind of messed up values were you raised with? Yeah, I don't know what movie this is, but that is not what being in love is. Being in love is saying you're sorry a lot, at least in my case, because I screw up a lot. You think your life is hard? I'm a high school junior wearing size 13 Nikes. Yeah, I'm sure all the students that can't afford lunch are really, really, really thankful that they don't wear size 13 Nikes in junior year. If I remember correctly, this one came from a movie called Tall Girl on Netflix, which I've never seen because I really don't get it. I don't get why they had to make a movie talking about all the bad things about being a tall girl in college or high school or whatever. I mean, there's so many other issues that people deal with throughout those years, and being tall, it's just not one of them. Nobody cares if you're tall. At that point, it feels like they're just making something up to be a heart-wrenching story about someone, but the subject matter just isn't worth it, and it's not going to do anything. Make a story about a girl being poor, not being able to afford lunch, not being able to do whatever, not being able to afford new clothes if they get ripped or torn, whatever. That's a great story. I am having a bad time in high school because I'm too tall. That is not a great story. I am your ultra nightmare, shouted by a character in a low-budget Doom Annihilation movie as he shoots dead a couple of demon zombie imp stuff. The line is a reference to the hardest difficulty in the Doom games, which is called Ultra Nightmare difficulty. That line and that reference just sounds very awkward in that context. Yeah, it feels very shoehorned in. I don't think that is something that anybody would ever say. Saying I am your nightmare, yeah, that's great. It's a cool, cheesy action movie line, but oh god, it's just way, way, way too shoehorned in. You know the thing about trains? It doesn't matter where they're going. What matters is deciding to get on. The dumbass Tom Hanks nightmare from the Polar Express. Like, are you kidding? Of course it matters where the train goes. Who in the world would tell some young kid, hey, don't worry about where the train's going. Just get on. Please, now. That's definitely got some predatory vibes on it. You know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? Not the stupidest, but it's the only one I can think of right now. Yeah, that one's a very stupid one. If you don't know where that one's from, that's from X-Men, the first movie. Now, here's the thing. It could possibly have the build-up to be like a good line, but it's got the worst, dumbest, anticlimactic finish at the end of it. She's got Toad, like, hanging off of a balcony. She's got a storm brewing up. So she goes with this line. You know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? There's a dramatic pause, and she says, the same thing that happens to everyone else. What the hell is that? That's the worst payoff ever. It's like me in the kitchen dramatically cooking going, you know what happened to the last egg I saw? He got cracked too. It's trying to sound cool, but it's a horribly written line that has no payoff whatsoever. What is illegal, but most people don't even know it? You can go to Lowe's and buy a weed killer off the shelf and use it on your property. You can use it on your parents' property. If you use it on your neighbor's property and he gives you $20, that's a felony. Yeah, it's kind of stupid. I don't know exactly why. I know that it has something to do with you have to be properly licensed to sell your services if you have to deal with chemicals like that, but it's really, really weird at the same time. It makes no sense that you can use it on your own lawn, but the second you charge someone for it, you get ticketed or get in trouble with it. It's the same thing with prostitution. You can go have as much sex as you want, but the second money changes hands, that's when it becomes illegal. It's really, really weird and honestly a very, very stupid rule. License plate covers. I saw one yesterday that was tinted and you literally couldn't read the plate, even in broad daylight. But even clear ones are illegal, in Ohio anyway. So I gotta tag in here. I think the clear ones are illegal because they can have that kind of film on it that really screws with the infrared red light cameras. If they try to see you whenever you run a red light, try to get your license plate, for some reason it messes with the video, you can't see the license plate, so that car just goes by unticketed. I think that's the reason that those are illegal. Changing your own light bulbs in Australia. The law says you must hire a licensed electrician to do it. I don't think anybody would ever follow that law unless they don't sell light bulbs at the store in Australia. But then there's probably going to be a very good black market for light bulbs. That way you don't have to pay an electrician to come in, unscrew something, and screw something else back in. However, it leaves the air open for really good jokes. Hey, how many Australians does it take to screw in a light bulb? 2. 1 to call the electrician, and 1 to get the call and come change it. Carrying a permanent marker or other permanent staining stationery is illegal in many countries under graffiti laws. I would be so freaking pissed off if some cop pulled me over and was like, "You have any markers on you?" It's so weird. It's such a mundane thing to have that you can get arrested for. They're just wasting police resources and jail space for people that have absolutely no reason to be in jail for this thing. Alright, and that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to come back throughout the week for more content. Please like and subscribe to help keep this channel going, and don't forget to have a great week.